Well, I'm more than pleased to participate in the further development of CFPL-TV. This station, as most of us will recall, pioneered TV in Western Ontario early in 1953, I think, was it, Robbie? In just a moment, I will press the button that will officially turn on the new 1,000-foot tower for CFPL-TV.
In January 1962, the station moved into its maximum broadcast range when the nation's highest television tower was switched on. It was only 3.5 feet shorter than the Eiffel Tower. Those foolhardy enough to climb it could see the curvature of the Earth from its top. As all forms of television viewership increased, other entertainment sources changed or died. Sunday movies were introduced to fight shrinking audiences. Smaller movie theaters were shut down, while larger ones were converted into multi-screen houses. Network programming on radio was replaced by disc jockeys and rock and roll, displacing the classical music Walter Blackburn adored. Not even his beloved free press was immune. After reaching a 90% peak penetration in the 1950s, sales for the newspaper declined, leading to the cancellation of the evening edition in 1981. CFPL-TV was also changing its community in other ways. People were becoming more aware of the world around them and the power of television to bring those realities home. After a decade of relying on the novelty of telecasting, CFPL's news coverage was growing up.
I think it's about the most dreadful thing I ever heard of. I think he was loved here in Canada just as much or more than he was in the United States.
It certainly is a shock to the people of the free world, and I think that although his aims were very blunt, straightforward, I think that perhaps had he had a little more time in the racial situation in the States, he might have been more successful. I think that perhaps this is the thing that brought it on.
One of the most horrible things I've ever heard of. I mean, you know, it doesn't say much for our civilization.
Why, for 100 years, has nothing happened? Because there hasn't been television and radio and the press coverage. Now that you have this, now that the world is being told, now the Negro is getting liberated, and it's the press that's doing it. They don't dare lift a hand or a billy as long as there's a cameraman standing nearby. They have to behave themselves as long as the press is there. The press is gone. Maybe we should be asking not for the return of federal truth, but for the return of the press.
We didn't realize this beforehand. We thought that in the mall, a group could make a protest. And since it was going to be peaceful, we didn't think there would be any problem, because there were just going to be some people around, and we were going to stand there and ask people to sign petitions.
Do you think the city police will step in?
I don't know. I don't know.
You're going to try it, though?
Yes.
I don't care what you do on the street, that's your business, but not in here at all.
How about in the back? Right here at the back.
This is our property right to the street line. You'll have to go right out on the street if you want to do it. We cannot give you permission in here at all.
It was our first protest we'd ever covered, and it was at the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia, and it was a protest against the United States nuclear testing in the Aleutian Islands, and it was a very peaceful protest, and it was folk singing. The kids from Fanshawe College and the University of Western Ontario sat and sang, and it was a time of folk music. And three little ladies from the United States decided they were coming into Canada and they weren't going to be held up by these sort of radical kids, so they thought. And they just put the hammer down and drove right into them. And fortunately, no one was killed, but God, it was totally disturbing.
Series like The World Around Us marked a high point for the news department. Programs studied the problem of road rage on the 401 highways decades before it became a hot topic in the media. Canadian author James Rainey received one of his first profiles when his play Colours in the Dark was staged at the Stratford Festival. Erie Report dove into the subject of pollution in the Great Lakes.
The Rouge River seems aptly...
CFPL won 3 national awards for its work, including Station of the Year. It was the prelude to what would be one of the most hectic 12-month periods in its history.
As you hear the captain shouting, "Nine up, blow your horn."
The sale that can only happen once a year is back. It's New Year's Madness at the Brick.